Sounds good. Just get. I managed to break my laptop, so I'm glad you can all hear. I just need to check. You will now be able to see. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. Oh, and the camera. Boom, boom, boom. Can you see the presentation? Amazing. Cool. So yeah, this is our presentation on DAOs, but equally feel free to dive in and ask any questions along anything I walk through. So just try and keep it super open and collaborative. Honestly, any questions, jump in. So yeah, introduction to our DAO and DAOs in general, how they are used, aims. This image is one of my favorite from DAO House, which is a thing that you can make DAOs on. It's like a platform essentially minting, but you mint your DAO as a collective, and they have really beautiful prismatic imagery like this. So essentially showing, instead of a normal hierarchy of an old school company, top-down waterfall approach, that hopefully all feeds get a vote, get a say, and get to contribute to the flow of the organization, where it's heading, and its eventual output. Yeah, this is our roof. I removed the little picture of me on there, but yeah, so I founded an ArtSect NFT gallery. This is the roof of it, and downstairs we have immersive screens, projection mapping, space for physical, digital artworks, and then we do AR, QR code activations too. Lots of stuff with digital fashion, so we do some fashion shows on the roof there. And this very cool artist who you'll see around Brick Lane and lots of the hipster areas, Sweet Tooth, just collaborating on some future drops with them. Again, digital, but our organization, we vote as different departments: art, music, and fashion, and we essentially vote on what we show as artwork, what we produce, and what we exhibit as a big collective. So yeah, we curate, create, and collect together as a big organization, and do some really fun, interesting events as a result of that collaboration. That one on the left was for Club Verboten, a famous fetish club in London, and we held a digital party to do with identity with them. So we had the screen there that overlaid different characters onto yourself, and then a bunch of experiences related to that club in person. That was a fashion show we ran physically, but we were then creating on the right, for London Fashion Week, then creating AR assets and different shareable social media wearables, to kind of push those drops, help promote them, and sync the physical NFT designers with the digital NFT designers. Something that we are very fond of. Just some more from our space and our fashion shows. So that's something we are currently creating for Skepta and Puma on the right, the digital fashion NFTs. We've done AR events for Exit Festival, so we made them digital fashion, for all of their DJs and different influencers, and then you could activate that across the festival. The physical fashion shows, tying them in as well. And I don't know, is it supposed to play? That just essentially shows cool screens that we've activated across London, with different wearable NFTs, similar to DressX. DressX do really, really cool stuff there. So yeah, little bit about us, and I suppose this is a really cool example of how decentralized collectives can use the technology, the Web3 technology, to do activist or innovative stuff. This one on the right was in 2021. There was that blockchain metaverse platform called OVR, where you could buy these AR plots across the metaverse, but they related to real places in the real world. We bought Art Basel Miami, lots of key spots inside of the festival, and then uploaded lots of digital sculptures from artists in London who weren't actually exhibiting at the festival, but we put them in. Then we flew out, videoed it, recorded it. That was unsanctioned in that first year, but they liked it and people enjoyed it. So we've been invited back the past 2 years to do it again. So that kind of decentralized collaboration and then use of the metaverse platforms to enable people who weren't showing at Art Basel to be able to show at Basel. And again, that's why we've got the gallery in London, so we allow access to everyone from the DAO and the whole ecosphere the ability to show physically in London. A super complex thing here. I'll run into it quick. This was like my I was a digital advertiser for the first part of my career, using targeting, cookies, Instagram, Facebook, and spending millions building out those targeting portfolios for clients and winning lots of customers for those different gambling companies, computer games, or fashion brands. So I had a very good understanding of how we currently arbitrage data against ourselves. If you look at Instagram or Shopify or any of these other big YouTube, we essentially upload our content and then these guys own it, sell it off to advertisers, and essentially use us as creative aggregate in the growth of their platforms. That has been very successful for them, but has kind of built the world that we're in now, with the use of the platform, centralization, etc. So that brings us to the Web 2 problem that I'm sure you're all understanding of, that centralized platforms own the data, they sell it off, and we are all left isolated and not held in the decision or profit sector of those setups. But the history of all of this is quite cool. So that horrible stuff that I mentioned just happened. We founded MySpace, and then we went to a Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat era. But luckily, influencers and the kind of power of grassroots brands have grown during that time. And these very innovative influencers now operate multi-platform. So you've probably got a Twitch streamer who's got a YouTube channel and a Twitter thread, or there's less ownership, and increasingly we're on our way to becoming fractalized, which gets us now to the creator economy and some of these blockchain platforms where we're suggesting Lens List or Lens on Polygon, where we're suggesting you can own your platform, own your data, own your profile, and start to sell this or arbitrage it yourself or connect it to other groups for helpful nature. Yeah, which leads us to this thing that everyone called the metaverse last year, or different branded VC words for fundraising activities as businesses, but it's essentially the intersection of extended reality or gaming world, the AR, VR, mixed reality, this digital token, the NFT or the non-NFT, just a peer-to-peer virtual asset network, and then platforms or metaverse worlds or OpenSea, any of these platforms, intersection of those and ownership of them is what let me skip back to the other one, what we're sitting on the kind of precipice of now. We've got these Web 2 platforms very entrenched, and we're just on like the hopeful brink of adopting these, people like yourselves at the forefront and VCA. So what we're really suggesting in this network is that, I mean, the platforms themselves are brilliant, Instagram, YouTube, etc., but that we should have governance rights at the very least to be able to help make decisions, help shape the content that's on there, and then also, if legally possible, be able to share from the profits or different streams that happen with the data there. Most of the people who are involved in this world are from this nomadic digital tribe that we're building. So many of us have enjoyed freedoms of traveling around, absorbing different cultures, and allowing us to share these all on chain and our different businesses. So would like to increase that. Yeah, so this is a nice pretty picture of our decentralized web. All right, the next bit here, I don't know if anyone has read the Moloch Ventures white paper yet, but this is a very inspirational paper to me in DAOs and DAO formation. There was the Satoshi white paper, the Bitcoin white paper, that offered an economic paradigm using the decentralized ledger to use Bitcoin. And then a few years later, the Amin Soleimani, super cool guy from the Meta Cartel gang, created the first DAO smart contract usable by people. Very lots of stuff. This paper definitely worth a read. Really, really inspirational to me. More inspirational than the Bitcoin paper. He first of all starts off with a facetious metaphor about society and how we are currently operating inefficiently, and then offers a really cool operating system and technological system for society to transfer to a better social system, basically. So really deep paper, very complex, but a big inspiration. So definitely read that. Big foundation in our DAOs thinking and other DAOs. And then the next white paper, equally inspiring. Oh, rid of that. Why is that there? Yeah, the Cyber Witch Manifesto is the kind of second deep inspiration to our DAO, and is a very important paper as well, but is kind of guised in very artistic occult language. The person who wrote it, Dr. Lucille Hort, is very clever, to say the least. And it takes a bit of deciphering, so maybe look at some of the articles written about the paper or the exhibition instead of just looking at the paper. But essentially they showed that within technological communities, in this case I'm going to apply it to Web3 and crypto, there are different players, like maybe you could call the DeFi or the CBDC gang, like certain players or energies on the table. These guys, am I getting questions in the chat? Let me have a look quick. I'm not. Yeah, so Dr. Lucille Hort showed that there are three groups in society, kind of operating within a nexus of three phases of evolution. So they identified eco-feminists, cyber feminists, and techno shamans. You can see those as the crypto people, and these three seemingly non-connected groups are connected in three levels of philosophy and innovation that are quite important. So eco-feminists have a focus on politics and spirituality. Cyber feminists have a connection there on politics, and they have thoughts on technological emancipation, and kind of techno shaman, I probably fit the category. Okay, is interested in spirituality and technological emancipation, in this case, DAOs, NFTs, blockchain. And these three groups are working on their different innovative spheres, but together it creates a new space for culture, society, identity, the commons of the arts. So we're all already contributing to that already. VCA, you as artists and curators, us with our gallery, we're all reshaping the commons of art and culture, as opposed to maybe what some of the people in the 90s or before centralized and created their different outlooks. So hopefully in DAOs we want to level the playing field. The old school model was weighted towards investors and shareholders, didn't really care about the producers or audience in that network, and we're just saying let's all do it together as we think the output would be nicer. And then some specific ways in which you can do that. So when people are like, okay, DAO sounds cool, how do we do this? It essentially, when you use your wallet or make your NFT, that's just you interacting on the blockchain by yourself. And if you group together a treasury or a new wallet as a gang of separate wallets, then you essentially have the ability to make or be a DAO. And you can use an NFT or um, a fungible token for that, and different voting mechanisms to achieve your democratic or different aims. So this is still being figured out, and any thoughts along it, everyone in the crypto sphere is always very interested in hearing your thoughts. They're testing different paradigms, and I don't think any of them are currently 100% yet. So test them out, have a look, and be very critical. The uh, are one account, one vote. So if we all made a DAO together, each of our accounts would get us a vote and a say in organization, which sounds very cool. But then that leaves the opportunity for people to create more accounts and gain more votes. Token weighted again was one of the originals. So if I buy 1,000,000 tokens and you buy 10, then I have 1,000,000 votes, you have 10. Obviously, not very weighted. NFT access, that's what we're going to do in ArtSect. So we're having a dual token. Holographic consensus mechanism is what its full name, which is essentially NFT access. So we're going to make an NFT for the council, and these council members are allowed to set proposals. So they can ask to direct funds from the treasury, ask to book up space in the gallery, ask to produce metaverse worlds, etc. And then the next level of NFT and token holders will be allowed to vote on these council people's decisions, proposals. So that would give, in our head, we're thinking that would be the best opportunity in the moment for our growth as an arts gallery, that the council or long-term members can decide proposals, but equally an artist could come to them with an idea and they could sponsor that proposal, and then the rest of the network's just allowed to vote, and if we say yes, then we go ahead with that. We like that one very much. Lazy consensus is getting back to being lazy in Web 2 methods. It's when you can offset your voting because you don't want to or you can't decide on that. So if we made a big DAO and we had a really complex finance department, but we were just selling NFTs and we kept asking you to vote on DeFi things that you didn't like or didn't understand, or just deal with that and make money and we'll make the art, please don't tell me about your accounting, then you can offset your voting there. We did a cool thing with LexDAO. They're a DAO of lawyers that does accounting and lawyer things and writes spreadsheets. They're very good. And then we're an arts gallery DAO, so we do creative things. So we did a lazy consensus swap. So we did a token swap, and then we cover their creative. So if they need anything done, website, social media, cool pictures design, NFT design, they send it to us and just let us do it. So they don't vote, they just trust us with a lazy consensus to make their stuff because we're cool. And then the same, like, we don't know anything about legal things, but we have lots of questions. So we essentially allow them to just choose and do the best job for us. Quadratic voting is some complicated mathematics that destroys my dyslexic brain, but I think it has mathematic value. It's kind of like the token weighted one, but they try and leverage that out and make it more equal. I think people have hopes for it, and multi-sig is actually the easiest. If you went onto Gnosis Safe, they essentially manage money through multi-sigs, or token, sorry, through multi-sigs, and it's very easy for you to just make one on the Notice Safe website, connect your wallets, and then you can manage NFTs or Bitcoin together as a collective. if anyone has any questions on any of that. Which I'm sure if we've all lived through these past few cycles, you know, it sounds very linear. We have this plan, we have this roadmap, but in reality, it is very messy and everyone's still learning. And the kind of DAO journey does look very convoluted, but I think it leaves room for a lot more creative freedom. We can handle. Sorry, I keep hearing the Discord thing going. I was thinking there are questions. So Nike's one, if you've just seen that, Nike swoosh. Nike's always like the biggest indicator in marketing and brand where things are going, or they always were in agency side when I worked there. So their creation of their DAO and purchase of Artifact a few years ago is very signaling of so they've created a co-created trainer. You've got to join their Nike Swoosh DAO and gain access through some hoops. But once you do that, you're part of their community, part of their DAO, and are going to be co-collaborators in either a Nike Air Force One or a special artifact thing. I haven't seen it being solidified yet, and I don't think they've made their decision. But as a very big brand, yeah, it's very interesting to watch them do that and follow that process. Okay, this was what should have been in the earlier slides. Some of this wearable fashion. That was in Belgrade. That's a big DJ on stage, and we were testing out different wearables for them. That was fun. This is an example of how our DAO-led marketplace or NFT gallery will work. So in the Web3 world, you could actually ask philosophically, what is the point of an NFT gallery, and why should this exist? I think it's a really good question as the person who created it, and I don't technically think it should. So a Web3 gallery should be a network and infrastructure owned by the participants. So the artists, curators, and patrons should essentially be the collective that manages the physical space and what we show, and then the metaverse space is the digital assets and how they all combine. And then so essentially it is a big treasury that we all look after, and then the different curators across art, music, and fashion get to set proposals for their different causes, and then any of the royalties that we earn on the marketplace can be directed to impact causes via those curators or artists. And then we're looking at other DAO to DAO mechanisms. So bio.xyz is a really cool decentralized science platform, and they've got like SciDAO, Athena DAO, Vita DAO, all these really cool decentralized science DAOs. Check them out, bio.xyz. And we're looking at speaking to them at the moment about making our collections collaborative and impact focused with them. So any NFT sales, royalties will be directed to hopefully like SciDAO in that case, and go to like actual research and different aims that we all decide as a gallery. So whether we're voting on what we think is fine art and nice sculpture to put in a London gallery, or whether we're voting on whether our excess revenues go to specific research causes or not. That's kind of the main aim as an infrastructure provider as a Web3 gallery, as opposed to just being a dogmatic old school gallery that picks artworks and sells them. Oh yeah, so we're releasing Marketplace soon. The NFT we're going to use to manage it is going to be a brain. We've got 3 brains. That is one of them. If I can play the video, and they all have different emanations on them. and we have a physical one, which is next to me, and we've also made this as like a wearable asset. I think the camera's on, so we've made a little silver sculptural flying brain, which is really cool. We have the digital one, and then yeah, you can also wear it on Snapchat and Instagram, which is very cool. But importantly, you will be able to use this to vote on the organization and do practical things. Nope. Where am I at? Okay, so quickly into our digital stint. The people that used to run NFT Soho and had the shop Never Fade Factory in Central in Soho, we have partnered with them and are now making physical fashion in the gallery in Hackney, but also now AR versions that will link with NFC chips. And make it all interactive. So really full spectrum production in London. That's T outside the DressX thing at the VerticalCrypto Art thing in Proof of People, which was like hopefully another one this year if everyone went to that. It was really cool. And what we're really saying is like to create a circular economy. So whether we're creating physical sculptures, physical fashion, or digital, how can we interlink this with the full spectrum economy? So as I mentioned, SciDAO, other decentralized projects, other DAOs, and just other on-chain, transparent, collaborative communities. How can we interlink this whole system and make us all very happy? Oh yeah, this is from the last talk. We do a fashion meetup every Thursday, and we missed Athera. That was for it was an art rave. It was fun. But yeah, every Thursday we run a AI fashion and tech meetup in the gallery and just help people learn about scanning. So we scan people during the workshop and then upload them to the metaverse and show how you could be the harborer of digital fashion. I think that is the end. So I'm going to leave it to questions to you beautiful residents, if you have any. No questions. I could show you all how to set up a DAO quickly, or some platforms to do that, or some examples of other cool DAOs. All right. I'll show you a quick example of one of our digital exhibitions. So, if it ever wants to load, we did this exhibition for the One Collective, a women's collective of street artists in Hackney Wick. So we had a physical exhibition in the gallery with their works around the goddess there, and then there was a temple inside the gallery. You'd climb in and put the VR headset in and end up in this beautiful world. It'll take a while to load. And then the different NFTs are pulled and then displayed in here. And then I think my computer is too slow, but we can actually move around and fly around in this universe. Oh, there we go. And spent ages working on the water. Very pretty. Yeah, so that's how we do digital exhibitions and allow people from different areas of the world to collaborate physically and digitally on cool artworks. Mm. Well, if there is no questions and nobody has, um, yeah, any more questions, I might continue playing this game. Oh, okay. Where are they? Maybe I'm being poor on Discord use. Is it in the voice channel or a cohort channel?
The voice.
Okay. Apologies, everyone. Oh, wow. Okay. There was certain jokes. Have you seen any pattern touch of DAOs but work best with the best group? Yeah. Wicked question. Love that. So, have we seen any patterns of the types of DAOs that worked best or worse? Does size make a difference? And do people want to actively make those decisions? Um, so yeah, I mean, it depends who you asked. If you ask the VCs, they'll tell you their little VC DAOs worked amazingly. I thought personally they were highly exclusionary and were not scalable within outside of very rich people paradigm. So for me, I want to see lots of scale and access, cheap access, basically, to the networks and the DAOs. The original DAOs, some of them charged like 1 Ethereum or 10 Ethereum to enter, and they were very much investment DAOs. They made a lot of money, but um, I mean, they invested in lots too, so they were quite helpful. But I prefer more equal access DAOs and ones that work either more on voting or more on the output and creation of the community. I think like the start of the show is always Unicorn DAO, set up by Nadia Riot from Pussy Riot. So very strong person, very strong ideology, and then that precipitated into the founding council and everything they do. So they produce NFTs, but they all their artworks and artists activists. All of the funds go towards very interesting stuff. I'm also connected to Cult DAO, which is like an anonymous very decentralized focused DAO, and I know Anonymous, Cult DAO, and Unicorn DAO did some collaborative activities together that I was very, very impressed by in the world sphere. And if you look at like when the Ukraine war started, there's all the Western countries were like, hey, aid, but they might not have given that without certain contracts being signed, and then the Ukraine DAO just set up, did a raise, and then distributed the money straight to Ukraine using crypto. So these kind of methodologies. Iran DAO, again, I really, really love Iran DAO and using crypto to give access to the artists and the people who are cut off from the rest of the world system, giving them access through crypto and giving them connections. So again, we're studying ways to be able to work with Iran DAO, not get in trouble in the UK. But yeah, I think these kind of models and different access, they really, really excite me. Um, like I think, yeah, in that lens, as we're all hopefully artists and not investment DeFi people, but if you are, well done. But I think for us, to gain a hold of the arts and commerce, like reclaim our culture back. We're gonna have to group into like micro niche collectives that just want to create for that output, and then the other DAOs or groups or participants will start to buy in. So like mirror.xyz, where people write the articles on chain and you can fund the project. Giveth.io. Let me have a look. Where is that? Oh, that's bio XYZ. Oh, these are all my investment things. Talking about VC so badly. And Giveth, if it's gonna let me load that, is really, really cool. They're not a DAO, but they give to DAOs or set up the infrastructure for community-based projects to do a vote together. Oh god, it's not coming up. Yeah, these guys are really good. The Give economy and give access there. So I like all the hippie DAOs and access over money, to be honest. Does the size of the group make a difference? I suppose yes, but again, depends on the outputs and goals. You can have small DAOs that like scale's good because it just means more people, more output, and if you have a token, maybe it'll go up or something, or people at least want to go into your group. But I definitely say scaling organically. Anyone who's done all of this Twitter and Discord bot shilling to just get new users probably doesn't have very quality audience. So I definitely recommend like building out of passion and alignment and resonance with your people, and it'll come more organically and you'll have a nice network rather than just a big one. And no, not everyone does actually actively want to make decisions. So we've learned that really early with our mix. Generally, the artists didn't want to look into all of the deep tech or finance decisions, and the same, the deep tech or finance people didn't really feel they had a say or any creative output in the creative ones. So there was always a split there, even though we're pushing for transparency. So I suppose anyone can always get involved, but what we've seen so far is people like to know everyone else is an expert and got it covered. So if you're the finance guy, wicked, do your crypto DeFi trading and do it well and bring back good news. And the same if you're making a metaverse, don't waste all the money, come back with a cool world like that one. Or yeah, so I think everyone wants to kind of offset to experts and trust that they're in a strong network of people who will cover their back across different things that we produce. Yeah, the Aqua one is amazing. That was made by Type One are collaborators with the DAO. They're also their own company as well, and they make really cool stuff, VR, AR. It's really, really nice. They actually have more if you go on to, if you can get that up. Yeah, okay. Realities.type1.org. These are all of the worlds they made for us. So that was the Aqua One. Oh wow, I remember that one. This one, Dream Zoo, it actually kind of makes you ill, but it's like a really interesting. I'll take you in it in a second. Sphere, and then this one is like a bone game that we made. So there's, I think it was the first one, just a test of pulling NFTs into this metaverse, and then we also made a bone sculpture. It's a real sculpture, but if you accidentally click on it, you get lost in it, and you'll probably never get out. But there is a way to get out if you navigate it. Mm. Mm-hmm. We're just making one with a brain at the moment. So that whole brain thing I keep talking about, we're making a synapse world with all of the different collectives joined in, and then you'll get your brain token, enter the synapse world, and be able to go through all of these different digital exhibits. So this thing is just like a torus or a donut, centered around the middle with a psychedelic shape, and then all of the artworks on the outside. Ooh, I'll take you to some of my favorites. Oh, there we go. I'm struggling to control. Epic. This one's surrealist artist. Where's this information? Oh yeah, it was Ben. Yeah, Ben Coquetto. They're based in Australia now. When they did that surrealist work, epic. And there's a physical oil painting as well that goes with it. It's this other gorgeous one. That one's also very cool. Not the one I'm hunting for. Oh, actually, okay. Oh, I've forgotten, and this will describe more. So there's two artists in here, Ben and then Dominic, and Dominic did the wildlife on the side, and we actually uploaded all of their artworks are about the possible loss of animals in the future and the climate crisis, and so they made some NFT cards there, and also some the animals, genetically cloned ones from the future, and then we add those in Basil. So both of these two artists were featured in Art Basel. Oh, here it is. Oh, yeah, I like this one. Might have already mentioned this, but do you know any DAOs that are working other things like rent assistance or other financial aid for artists? So it comes to crowdsourcing Kickstarter, yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, first question. Do I know any DAOs that work on things like rent assistance or other financial for artists? Not specifically, but I've also got another DAO that I set up, a property DAO in London, focused on nomadic travelers being able to live like a co-living. So we had yoga box, media box, and arts box, and there's 7 tenants in each. And they use the spaces like a private closed thing. We have spoke about offering. Sorry, I'm just thinking about the idea at the same time. Yeah, we have thought about offering rent assistance or residencies there. I haven't seen any other programs apart from that. Maybe Cabin DAO, or I think the Daoist, that cool DAO innovation platform. They might have set up some temporary stuff in Lisbon or Spain. I don't know if it still exists. That is a very, very, very cool idea. I never thought about that exact spin on it. So Cabin DAO or the Daoist might have also making steps, but I don't think anyone's done anything comprehensive. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it would be amazing if these whales decide to flex, and that's what we are working on. So hopefully we'll get some whale flexing through our organization, and they can help. Because I completely agree. I think that's what those very rich crypto people should be here for. Like, we're the ones building infrastructure and creating it cool and populating it. We're not trying to own and create these massive platforms. So yeah, well done, everyone. And crowdsourcing, yeah, definitely. I'll show you a few now. Basically, yeah. So there's lots out there, and there are lots of crypto whales, and they are helping. So I just ran through loads while they go off the top of my head. Juicebox is a really simple one. So, like, the difference between a wallet, an account, and a treasury is sometimes a bit confusing. They could kind of sometimes just be the same thing. But Juicebox you can do that on. So you can create a project that is a DAO, and you can also actually make a token on here really easily. So as a gang, you could launch a wallet or a DAO together, put your NFTs in, and create a token on top of that for other people to invest. And there's lots of groups, Nouns Down, Shark Down, the gang, they're all in there. They're really good whaley investors, actually. The whole kind of Nouns gang. Yeah, so you can definitely do it on there. We've used it before. Very, very cool. And the guy that set it up is deep on Discord. He'd be happy to speak to you very quickly. Right. Okay, yeah, it's literally just easy. So you can create a project, upload all your stuff, figure out which wallets you're paying it out to, how you want your token distribution to work. So you can literally just make a token there and then, and any NFTs, and that's it. You're launched. I think let's give that one up because that one's also really cool. Yeah, Giveth again. Similar, they've got less like tokeny stuff. You can't make a token on there, and you can't um, sell NFTs on there, but you can uh, raise funds on there. And there's some really cool projects and really cool people already on here. Oh god. So I like them. Say Juicebox has got more crypto native people. This has got more charitable or active, and like outside of the crypto space too. So quite digital. Yeah, really cool. Bankless DAO, disaster relief, common stack, epic. Have you ever seen that community? They teach people how to tokenize stuff and create. They taught me a lot about DAOs back in the day. Yeah, so there's even like small projects here, like building a future of mural funding. Yeah, okay, cool. Relocating Web3 Iranian. So yeah, some really good platforms there. Giver, Juicebox, some of the more old school like OG crypto ones. And the guys that made DAO House are actually the guys that wrote that Moloch Ventures white paper I was on about. And they've got lots of old school language like summon a DAO, etc. But yeah, so that one is very crypto native, and I think it'll still cost you gas fees. But if you get in that ecosystem, there's a lot of the original crypto OG people in there to meet. So that's cool. Connect your wallet. Yeah, it's a bit more like crypto binary, like that's talking about quorums and stuff. But yeah, more complex crypto one. What else we got? Aragon. I used to work with these guys. Bit of history, but the it is good-ish. So same, you can launch it down there, and they're quite technologically comprehensive. And then Snapshot's probably the easiest. The easiest way to spin up a DAO is just make collect your wallet, make a page on here, and then you can join other DAOs here. If I wanted to actually Gitcoin, not decentralized. Yeah, so I can join there, and I might need a Gitcoin token, or they'll have some rules on what I need to join that DAO, and then these are all their proposals there. So Snapshot's really good for getting involved with the whole ecosystem because you can join lots and lots of DAOs here, and voting and getting involved with more. Juiced, nice. Interesting. Oh, they're only on Tezos. Marina did it. Not that I've heard of. I'm gonna look it up now. OMG. I mean, massive gap on market. Interesting. I wonder why, first of all. Okay, maybe there's not a very easy to use tool to make DAOs on Tezos. Okay, this looks like one. Hmm. Yeah, it looks like there is. I don't know how active or I've never heard anything about it. I haven't got a Twitter. I'll look into it. Not yeah, but as you're saying, I think the investment is low. It's a very good question because I think there's a big gap for it. So I don't know why that hasn't happened on Tezos yet. Again, VCA community, maybe you should form a resident DAO and yeah, take it on. I think for one, why we've never, I love Tezos too, but why we've never chose it is because it's not strategically commercial enough to get an effect. So like our gallery couldn't be solely based on Tezos. We like to work across chain. We're not maxi on anything, but I think if we just launched on one chain or another, not Eastern, then we would have had audience loss. So I do loads of digital fashion clients, and like we're speaking to some big fashion people at the moment, and they're like, "What chain do we launch on?" And I can only really advise them Polygon in my client-centric way because Ethereum's too expensive. It's got the most people, but it's too expensive. It doesn't work for like the consumer to be able to buy. And then Polygon's got the next usable layer of UX infrastructure for people to use. So if I sent an NFT purchase link to my nan or my mom or someone from outside the crypto community, there's it's still harder than Ethereum, but there's a potential like 60% that consumer is going to be able to get access to that. Whereas I'd say if I sent them a link to Tezos, they're just going to be lost. So that's quite hard in the client onboarding, like business side of the situation. Yeah, you definitely should do a DAO. And you've already got so many dedicated members because I was saying it last time, and you've just got 6 cohorts now. So if you did it and launched it and shouted to everyone else and were like, "Hey guys, like you've got a very good network," and everyone's interlinked. One good thing about DAOs we noticed is that most DAO people are members of multiple DAOs. So in old businesses, there was a lots of segregation and almost like competition of information, whereas we're all the same people, just wearing different hats and idea times. So it's that's really exciting, yeah, to watch these different DAOs and folds of DAOs, collaboration. So yeah, launch a DAO, and probably that Tezos Foundation or Trilitech in the UK will fund you because, as you said, no one's doing it. So if you did it and you've got history and you launch a token, you'd probably be able to get a little bit off one of those people. So yeah, we can help if you want. Yes, Espinosa, that is very good energy. Leader, yes, Dave and Espinosa, DAO founders and leaders, I bow down to you. I think everyone would follow if you did it. So, like, good energy to you and willing to help you in any way you want. Just yeah, message and do it. So nice, good energy. All right, Yinga. I think unless anyone else has any questions, maybe we should leave it on that good energy and thought.
Yeah.
Probably Instagram, I reckon, or Telegram. I have a lot of feeds and I ignore all the messages. But if you want to get hold of the gallery, Aga is our head of curation. I stay well away from it. I just do all the crypto stuff. So if it's specifically for the gallery, I get in contact with Aga. I'll show them now quick. They're really cool. And then if you wanted to ask any DAO or crypto-y stuff, then you can message me on Instagram if it's gonna load. Yeah, so this is actually a good example of how our collaboration works. Collective Individuals is run by Aga, our head of creation, and they did an exhibition last year with us, and then also joined our team. So they run their separate collective of and run on this mad Shibari exhibition in the gallery not long ago. Really interesting. But yeah, so they operate their own collective and also help manage ours. And we just kind of like blended together and all work together now. So yeah, if you wanted to speak about any gallery related things, that's them there with the hair. I would contact Aga. I'll see if I can get their actual profile up. And then, yeah, me on Instagram, maybe. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, good luck. Looking forward to connect to you all in the future.